Hey everyone, we all live inside systems. They're everywhere. The payroll system that makes sure your rent gets paid, even the simple unspoken rules of like who sits where on an airplane. But what happens when those systems get a little glitchy? Today we are diving deep into what happens when the rules just suddenly break. So let me ask you this. Imagine a system breaks, right? In one scenario, it's some huge faceless company that, whoops, accidentally starts sending you free money. But in another, it's a person, right there in your face, deliberately breaking a rule to take something that is yours. How do you react? Your gut feeling is probably already different for each one, and that's exactly what we're digging into. And this comparison really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you've got this impersonal, faceless glitch. A computer messes up, and suddenly you're facing this weird moral dilemma. But on the other side, you've got a super personal violation, a direct human-to-human conflict that just screams for you to do something right now. Okay, so let's jump into our first case study. This one comes from a Reddit user who quit their job, but it seems the payroll system didn't quite get the memo. I mean, can you even imagine that? You've said your goodbyes, you've totally moved on with your life, and yet the money, it just keeps rolling in. For a lot of people, that's the absolute dream, right? But it's also got to be this source of major paranoia. What on earth do you even do? And listen, this wasn't just a one-time mistake. We're talking 4 straight months of full paychecks. That's long enough to go from, that's kind of weird, to, okay, I guess this is just my life now. It's the fact that it kept happening that makes this whole thing so wild. And it turns out this was not some crazy, isolated case. Not at all. The comments on this story just opened up the floodgates, revealing this whole phenomenon of what we can basically call forever perks. It's not just about money. Just get a load of these. People are getting an employee discount for more than 15 years after leaving a job. 12 years of a phone discount, a free data plan for a tablet, even free pet insurance. It just goes to show you how easily one single person can fall right through the cracks of these massive corporate systems that are just, running on autopilot. All right, so let's totally switch gears. We're going from that quiet, impersonal glitch to something loud, public, and very, very personal. This is the story of an all-out battle for a pre-booked airplane seat. Now, this was not an accident. Oh no, this was a full-blown calculated performance. The seat stealer had a whole strategy laid out. The giant sunglasses, the big headphones, the fake deep sleep. It is such an audacious attempt to exploit that thing in all of us that hates causing a scene. They're banking on the idea that most of us will just give up to avoid an awkward fight. And here it is, the climax of the whole showdown. After all the gentle taps and polite requests just completely failed, the only thing that worked was shattering that social script. A loud, direct, and probably a little embarrassing public statement completely broke the performance. The seat stealer just folded instantly, proving the whole thing was just a bluff. So we've got our 2 scenarios, an accidental jackpot and a deliberate personal insult. And the really crucial part is just how differently we process and react to these 2 kinds of system breaks. So let's really break this down. The accidental paycheck, that's an impersonal glitch. It feels like you're up against a machine, a line of code. But the seat stealer, that is a personal glitch. You're dealing with a person who is actively choosing to violate a rule that we all agree on. And that distinction, right there, is key. So when you're faced with that impersonal glitch, the whole conflict is completely internal. It's just you, alone with your thoughts. A quiet, moral dilemma. Do you pick up the phone, call HR, and give back all that free money? Or do you just stay quiet and hope for the best? And man, the Reddit comments really laid out this whole internal debate. On the one hand, hey, free money. The company is huge, they're not going to miss it. And plus, you might actually be saving the poor payroll person who made the mistake from getting in trouble. But then on the other hand, there's the paranoia, the guilt, and the very real risk of getting a scary letter from a lawyer. It's a really complex calculation. Now, with the personal glitch, the challenge is completely different. It's not internal at all, it's external. It's not a moral dilemma, it's a tactical one. The only question is, how do I get this person out of my seat? And the hive mind had some absolutely brilliant strategies. Everything from the simple direct demand to just immediately escalating to a flight attendant. My personal favorite, though, has to be the malicious compliance, pretending the person is having a medical emergency. And of course, there's always the bold and very awkward ask to face climb over maneuver. The responses here are all active, they're all confrontational.
So, how do these stories actually end? How do these broken systems finally reset themselves? Well, you can probably guess. The resolutions are just as different as the problems were.
In the case of the impersonal glitch, the most common ending is, well, it's nothing. The money just stops coming. No angry letters, no legal threats. The system just quietly corrects itself, usually because it's just not worth the massive administrative headache for the company to chase down the money. And here we have a quote from someone actually in payroll confirming exactly why this happens. They made a mistake, they paid someone for 4 months by accident, and when they finally found it, they just quietly turned off the payments. Why? To avoid getting in trouble themselves. It's a classic cover your backside resolution that, weirdly, benefits everyone. But the resolution to a personal glitch? Oh, that is rarely quiet. When someone deliberately breaks the rules in public, the correction is often public too. And you know what? Sometimes it is incredibly satisfying. This leads us to one of the absolute best stories that was shared in the comments. A guy tries to cut a huge line at an airport, gets told to wait like everyone else, and then he pulls out the most infamous line of entitlement there is. And the gate agent's response is just chef's kiss. Perfect. A public announcement, a massive dose of sarcasm, and a complete and total shutdown of the entitlement. That, my friends, is public justice. The personal glitch gets fixed, not with the quiet keystroke in an office somewhere, but with a microphone for everyone to hear. So, what does all this tell us? Why do we see this quiet internal dilemma with a corporate error, but an immediate public showdown with a personal one? Well, it all comes down to the human element. Ultimately, how we react to these glitches reveals our relationship with the rules themselves. When it's a faceless system, is it kind of fair game? But when a person intentionally breaks the rules right in front of us, do we feel this duty to defend that social contract? Because when the system breaks, our reaction does more than just solve the problem. It reveals our own sense of fairness, our sense of justice, and where we, personally, draw the line.